Hi, I'm Bill, and like you, I'm packing to visit my family for the holidays. And top of the list is the NES action set. With Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt included, it's action-packed excitement for the entire family. Look at them there, having a great time. That'll be us this year, oh yes. But I only have room in my suitcase for 10 games. They've got to be fun, multiplayer, and accessible enough that everyone can enjoy them. So I gave it some thought, and I thought I'd share the next 10 items on my packing list with you, so that you too can get some 8-bit festive family fun for the holidays. First, some honourable mentions. These didn't quite make the list, but very well could be on yours. Bomberman is a classic multiplayer family game, but the NES version, Dino Blaster, doesn't quite do it. There's only 2-player versus mode or 3-player battle mode if you're lucky enough to own a 4-score. There are no computer-controlled opponents, and you can't play normal mode with 2 players. We'll see Bomberman on the SNES list, I'm sure, but this one just doesn't have enough options. I would love for Micro Machines from legendary British developer Codemasters to be on this list, but it has a problem that a lot of NES multiplayer games have, and that's that it doesn't play very well if there's a great difference in skill between the 2 players. Both players have to stay on the screen for the race to progress, and a player scores a point when the other player gets left behind. If you're playing with someone who's a bit younger or newer to video games, they're just not keeping up. For a game to make it on this list, the less experienced player has to at least get a decent game out of it, even if there's a big skill gap, and this is over just far too quickly. And then there's The Legend of Zelda. This is a great multiplayer game for a family, particularly with kids, to solve the mystery together. Turn off the internet, draw some maps, and you can have a great time with it. But this is best played if you're taking a trip for a couple of weeks. With everything else happening over the holidays, you're not going to have enough time to devote to rescuing Zelda. The games on this list are great fun, whether you give them 10 hours or just 10 minutes. And of course we're excluding games that are straight up too hard for newer players to be able to play, or too complicated to understand pretty much immediately. So if I was going to introduce a family member who's not a retro gamer to all the joys that this grey box has to offer, these are the games I'd bring. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Marble Madness. This would be higher in the list if not for its relatively high difficulty. I always found it hard when I was a kid to control the marble, but if you're playing with adults who might be able to take it a little more slowly at first, then you've got a great little competitive game that's easy to understand yet hard to master. With how short the levels are and how quickly players will lose their marbles, it's a good one for passing the controller around and getting the whole family involved. It can be kind of frustrating, but generally, when you do lose, you know what you got wrong and what to improve for next time. Recommended, but definitely before the eggnog. Number 9 is Bubble Bobble. Now I love Bubble Bobble and would happily have it higher on the list, but having actually played it with family, I can tell you it's not as easy to get into as it first looks. If the only video game you've played is Mario, the slow movement and limited jump distance in Bubble Bobble just feels off. Plus there are certain levels that require advanced movement tech in the form of bubble jumping with varying wind currents, and there are times when the timing to attack an enemy, particularly in close or jumping up from below, is super tight. Bubble Bobble can be a frustrating game. That said, it's a great NES multiplayer game and is well worth bringing along. If they're patient enough, the kids will have a great time with this. Let them get drawn in by the cute little dinosaurs, and once they get the hang of it, they can just one more level their way into the new year. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is number 8, and it's a charming cartoon platformer with deep lore that's fun for kids and adults alike. Pick up crates and hurl them at robot mice. The controls are tight, it's simple to understand, and it's a good time. There are a couple of problems with it that keep it quite low on the list though. First is difficulty. Those of us who are used to NES hard have no trouble with this, but I've never played this with anyone who hasn't fallen victim to this cactus and the robot dogs immediately after. Plus the fact that Chip and Dale can interact with each other serves to increase the difficulty. Sure, you can pick up the other player and carry them through harder sections, but if you do that, they're no longer playing, so you don't want to do that too much. What tends to happen instead is the two chipmunks spend a lot of time accidentally braining each other with boxes. Also, some of these platforms are too tight to navigate easily with 2 players, and it's really easy to push each other off, which can make for some frustrating moments. Or you can embrace the chaos and start throwing each other into pits with reckless abandon. If that appeals to you, or to the younger members of your family, make sure to pack this game. Plus, this probably has the best presentation of any game on this list, with its story, cartoon graphics and awesome soundtrack. Number 7. Tennis. Bear with me. This one surprised me too. The first thing to say is do not practice this on your own. You've probably never played it. Just bring it along and thank me later. I'm on a quest to get all the small box NES games, and of course that includes tennis. And since I don't buy games just to sit on the shelf, I had a buddy over and we gave it a try, and honestly we had a blast. You pick doubles and you play against the computer. We were both terrible at it. The timing is tricky and we rarely got a rally going, but the sets are long enough you get to give it a good try. And once we just started to get the hang of it a little bit, we got a great feeling of accomplishment. And in terms of being approachable, it's tennis. Everyone knows how to play tennis, even if they don't understand the scoring. And this is one of those rare games where it's really fun to play, even if you're terrible. If you can laugh at yourself for missing a serve, definitely take this one along. However, it gets less fun with a big skill difference between the players. If you're genuinely good at this, bring it for your family to play, but maybe sit it out yourself. Write up the tournament brackets and get the drinks in, and bask in the glow of your family having a great time with NES tennis. Probotector, or Contra, takes 6th place, and the only reason it gets on this list is the Konami code. There is no way your relatives are getting past the first level of this with 3 lives, but give it the old up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A start on the title screen and start with 30 lives, and suddenly the game becomes accessible and a lot of fun. Especially, I would argue, the slightly slower European version. You can get a good few levels in, no problem, and the variety involved makes this game a lot of fun. It's simple to control, it's fun to play, it's a classic for a reason. And with the Konami code, a new player won't be able to finish the game, but they will get to play for a good amount of time. And being cooperative, it's perfect for 2 players of vastly different skill levels to play together. The screen moves slowly enough that the second player can keep up, players can't inadvertently harm one another, and there's enough going on that the second player will always have something to shoot at. So we're at the halfway point, and I'm happy with my packing list so far. If you are too, or if you're preparing your comment about how Bubble Bobble should be higher on the list, but enjoying the video anyway, please like and subscribe. It's all I want for Christmas. And thanks to Ultra Muffin for supporting the channel, and you can do that too by clicking the little join button down below. You pay a little money and you get a little perks. See, I work hard on this channel and I don't compromise my integrity for clicks. I've played every game on this list and I'm giving you my genuine opinions. I'll never recommend a game I haven't played myself, which means my videos do take a little bit longer to make than they otherwise would. But I take pride in this channel. I speak from the heart, I never lie to you, I always credit my sources, and I take time to research and I correct my mistakes when I get it wrong. So support integrity in video games journalism, and a guaranteed cat in every video by supporting the Retro Sofa. Now, on with the top 5. And if you're travelling with hand luggage only, this is the list you want. The absolute best, the cream of the crop of holiday NES games. Make sure you don't leave for the holidays without number 5, Double Dragon 2. Don't accidentally bring 1 or 3 because they will disappoint you, but the second entry in the series is a great multiplayer game because it's the only one with the magical combination of simultaneous multiplayer and an approachable level of difficulty. B attacks left, A attacks right, press them both to jump. It's a little different as a control scheme, but it's not complicated, and there are extra moves you and your family can discover inadvertently while you're mashing buttons. Beating up enemies is satisfying, platform sections are forgiving, and regardless of skill level you can advance at least a few levels into this game together and have a great time with it. I feel it's a bit repetitive though. The music's not the best and the graphics are fine, but they're not pulling anyone in. Where the presentation improves is the little cutscenes, which gave us a good laugh with all the 80s action film tropes. They never say helicopter, always chopper. It's just good fun and worthy of a place in the top 5. Number 4. Now, I'm not a big fan of Dr. Mario's single player, but if you're looking for a simple multiplayer puzzle game for the holidays, this is a great pick. Pills drop from the top, match the colours, take out the viruses. It's a simple concept that doesn't need much explaining, unlike a lot of other NES puzzle games. In fact, in terms of simplicity, really the only game that beats it is Tetris, which might be a much better single-player game, but lacks multiplayer on the NES, unless you shell out for the Tengen version, which was never released in Europe anyway. Dr. Mario is a better multiplayer game than it is a single-player game, and the simple concept and slower pace make it ideal to share with your family. Video games can, and should, include everyone, and this and tennis are the games on this list that are most likely to engage your parents and grandparents in some classic gaming. We're into the top 3 now, and we've come back to the camera because for this one I have to be very, very specific. Number 3 is Mario Brothers, but only this version with this cover art. Often called the Classic Series Edition, this was only released in PAL B in the German region and PAL A in Italy. It never got an NTSC release, but fortunately, emulation exists, so we can all play it. Just make sure your emulator plays 50Hz games at the right speed. The original release of Mario Bros. On the NES maybe would scrape in at number 10, but this version is better enough to take third place. Why? One simple reason: jumping. Anyone these days who's ever played or even seen a video game expects to be able to change their trajectory mid-jump. The original Mario Bros. Arcade game didn't let you do that. Now, you and me, we grew up with the original arcade game and we're purists. We like it that way because the restricted movement, having to commit to your jumps, is part of the challenge. I get it. Your family, however, does not. There's no denying that improved jump control makes this game a lot more accessible and a lot more fun for people coming to it fresh. Tight mid-air control is one of the main factors that made Super Mario Bros. A success over other platform games of its time, so I can't overstate how important it is, and here it makes such a difference. It's also nice that this version has the proper arcade sprites rather than the cut-down, smaller, flickery sprites of the original NES port. Mario and Luigi can help each other or harm each other, whichever you prefer, and either way it's a great time. I don't know many other games that function this well both competitively and cooperatively under the same menu option. Work together to clear levels or compete to get the highest score, whichever you want, or a bit of both. And either way, this is a great game, and no wonder it launched Luigi's career. Just remember to tell your family that they can't jump on the turtles in this one. And in number 2, it's the turtles who are doing the jumping. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles 2, the arcade game, known in some regions as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, or in Japan as just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Turtles aren't at the height of their popularity these days, but they're still a well-known franchise on Nickelodeon, and the kids at your holiday gathering have probably heard of them and might be curious to give this one a try, and if they do, they won't be disappointed. This game, rather like Probotector, is a bit on the difficult side, but also like Probotector, it has a built-in solution. Select your number of players, then press BA, BA, up, down, BA, left, right, BA, and start to get a bunch more lives and a level select. It's fine. Built-in cheat codes made a lot of games more accessible back in the day, and there's no shame in using them now, especially if it's to help introduce new players to the wonderful world of classic video games. Like with the last game, the goal here isn't purity, it's accessibility, so that the whole family can play some great games together. And you want the cheat here. The levels are fine, but the bosses really ramp up the difficulty. Even with the Turtles IP aside, this is a much more immediately appealing and understandable game than Double Dragon 2, with much more satisfying jump kicks. Pick your favourite turtle and move from left to right, beating up Shredder's Foot Clan to rescue April. It couldn't be simpler. The little cutscenes between levels really help the feeling that you're playing a cartoon, at least by 1990 standards. Presentation matters, especially when you want to introduce kids to your games, and this game nails it. Beyond that, it's simple, it's accessible, and it's just great fun. If you have access to the original arcade game, that's obviously a fine choice, but they dialed down the difficulty a bit for the NES port and added extra levels, so I'd still recommend this one even with the graphical downgrade. And hey, it still looks pretty radical to me. Also, Mutant Mayhem is a great film that I really recommend you check out if you're interested in seeing what the Turtles are up to these days. Taking the number 1 spot is the only game on this list without simultaneous multiplayer, and it's Super Mario Bros. 3. Mario is, and always has been, a great game to play together, even taking it in turns, and Nintendo made significant changes to this game over the original to support 2-player games. In the original, it only switched to the second player when you lose a life, so a talented Mario could get to the end of the game before Luigi even gets a turn. In Mario 3, it also switches when you beat a level, and the levels are particularly short so nobody has to wait for too long to get to play. Once a player clears a level, it's cleared for both players, so unlike the original, you really feel like you're on a joint adventure. It also makes sure that Mario and Luigi are on the same world. Ideally, whoever you play with should have at least a little bit of Mario mastery, but they probably will. This is the only game on this list that I think benefits from some more experience with the game's mechanics, but for Mario that's not a tall order. This also has Mario Bros. Built in. Anytime you want, you can go up to the other player on the world map and compete in an updated version of Mario Bros. For end-level cards. It's low stakes, but it's good fun, and whoever wins takes the next turn to play a level, so you could, if you wanted, deliberately lose the battle game to throw the turn back to the other player to give them another shot at a level. You also get unlimited continues, so you're never in a situation where one player has lost all their lives and the other has the choice to either continue alone or restart the game, as is often the case with NES multiplayer. Short of a simultaneous option, which probably wouldn't have worked with this game anyway, Nintendo did all they could to make Super Mario Bros. 3 a great multiplayer experience. I don't need to review the game itself, do I? It's Mario 3. It's one of the best games ever made. And it lends itself to multiplayer better than any other game in the series up until New Super Mario Bros. Wii introduced simultaneous multiplayer. There used to be a raging debate about whether Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario World was the better game. I think with time and with hindsight, Super Mario World has won out overall, but with levels being longer and there being no battle mode, I feel like Super Mario Bros. 3 is still the better multiplayer experience. Plus, Super Mario World is a SNES game, and I'm not packing 2 consoles for the holidays. So play Super Mario Bros. 3 with your family and have a great time. It's been a long year and you've earned it. So, there's the full list. Any suggestions, comments or disagreements, please do sound off in the comments. But this is what I'm packing for the holidays, and if you show up on your family's doorstep with a NES and these 10 games, they know they're going to be in for an awesome holiday, and I can hardly wait. This is still a relatively new channel, and we really value your support, so thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and maybe leave a comment. Tell me about what classic games you'll be playing with your family this year, NES or otherwise. One thing I love about having this channel is giving a space for everyone to share their stories of playing the games they love with the people they love. So feel free to jump in. Special thanks as well to Claudia for... You're right, Beetle. Oh, you Riggy boy. Okay, you don't have to stay. Special thanks as well to Claudia from Spinster's Library for helping me record the video, including all of the game footage. All that's left to say then is thanks for joining me once more on the Retro Sofa, and happy holidays to you and to your loved ones.